Okay, so we're welcome back to week two of our podcast, and we're this week we're basically going to go over the results that we had from the prior week, how our telegram is going, how many units we're up, what we've been doing in NFL, NCAA football, MLB, and plans for future bets. Basically recap of NFL week one. We got a lot of notes on that, and we actually had a pretty solid week. And if you were in the Telegram, you would have actually had some pretty successful results and opportunities to make bets based on the information that we gave out. We had a pretty good week in NCAA football, and some interesting stuff happened in MLB, which went right for us. We're going to go over all of that. And then additionally, we're going to go over NFL week two and some lines that are, sort of catching our eye immediately early on in this week. It's only Tuesday for us at the moment, but I think there's still opportunity, and we're going to go over all of that. It's a pretty exciting time. So again, if you're brand new to this, you can go to the link in the description. You can go and sign up for a free trial to our community. It doesn't cost anything to give it a shot. You'll be able to see a full history of all our bets. Everything that we talk about here, you're going to be able to see in that Telegram channel. Okay, you're going to see all the wins because we're betting with you guys. We have a stake in everything, and you're going to have an opportunity to bet with us for those few days and ideally even pay for your subscription. And so it will become a subscription, full disclosure, after that free trial, but you'll have an opportunity to try for free. And if you don't want to be a part of it, then you can just cancel and not pay anything. And so that's basically more or less what we're working on doing. We want to give people the opportunity to see how legit we are and that we're winning, and give them the opportunity to try us out for free without any commitment. So that's what we can do. Check out in the description. So let's get into this podcast. So Binks, tell us about your week.
All right, guys. Yeah, we're back this week. Hopefully you guys tuned in for last week, and if not, welcome to the podcast. So we're just going to go over what happened in this last week, a little update on our Chosen One Picks community. Up this week, we are just up under 6 units, so that's really good. Again, if you're betting $1,000 unit, you're up 6,000. If you're betting $100 unit, you're up 600. So that's a really good outcome there. Still crushing the MLB as it finishes. The season's coming to a close. But catching a lot of good spots from the books here because I feel like they're not fully accounting for some scenarios where we can really print on, and that's my job, and our job out here is to find these good spots for you guys. So we had a huge pick this week with the Diamondbacks just a couple days ago at plus 125. If I was working for the books, I would have fired the staff members that released that line. That was just truly terrible. They had that line set when Ryan Nelson, he's just been an elite pitcher for Diamondbacks out there. They have a juggernaut of an offense. They had a couple big hitters out, but they're still a really good hitting team. With him on the mound against anyone, you can always count him to keep him down to maybe 2 or less runs. So that was a huge spot there. And he was pitching against what's his name, Verlander. And that's why it was such a great line to catch, because Verlander has just been on a massive decline. He's not what he used to be. He's still a solid pitcher, but his stats reflect what he's doing right now. He's 3-5. He's got a high ERA, probably like 4.2. So yeah, he just got lit up, and exactly how I anticipated, he was down 8-0 in the third inning, so he didn't even see the fourth. So that was an easy win, no sweat right off the bat. Plus 125, that was a huge cash for us. That's just to finish off the MLB. We're gonna dive a little bit into how the NFL picks went last week. So like jcap's mentioned, we did miss our Ravens pick at halftime just by a hairline. We were down by a bit. The plus half didn't cash, but like we said, we called out the Phillies and the Packers over that first game in Brazil. That went well. It was a hard over, so that was basically a no sweat pick. If you're in the community, we also called out Cowboys +2. +2 is huge. That was also a no sweat pick. They went up and they just held the lead the entire game. That game was pretty exciting. Finished at 33-17, and a little bit of background on that game too. What's his name? Prescott. Prescott just signed a new big contract, so he really wanted to solidify why he was deserved to be paid that much. So he really went out there and put on a good performance. So that cashed nicely. We're just gonna get into some of the other picks some of the other games that happened last week. So yeah, the Lamar Jackson and Chiefs game, that was a pretty crazy game. AJ Caps, do you have any insight on that game?
Yeah, it was a good game. I think that the Chiefs are a very legit team. I think that they're going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. I also think the Ravens are a really good team, but they just, the Chiefs have their number. The ending of the game, the ending of the game kind of was pretty dramatic, with that little like toe on the line. But that sort of was that was the difference maker between the +3 cashing and not cashing. So I think the books were basically spot on with their line on that game, as they usually are. But basically that's generally my opinion on that game. I think the Chiefs are just really good. I think they're going to be really good, and they have an interesting game this coming week based off that game, which I actually like immediately I looked at and I was like, okay, that's an interesting spot. And so that just to preface that, we'll get into it when we talk about NFL week two, but the Bengals are like 6-point dogs against the Chiefs at home. The Chiefs are at home, and so I don't know. The Bengals kind of stunk it up against the Patriots. I don't know what was going on. Joe Burrow's first came back. He's been injured. There's some Jamar Chase stuff going on. I think the Bengals are a better team than that. So my
Yeah, just gotta
expectation is that
shake the
they're
rust
gonna,
off.
yeah, I feel like they're going to sort of like play up to the competition, and so I like the Bengals +6 in that game. I don't think the Chiefs are going to come out and steamroll them. I could see the Chiefs losing that game or it being like a field goal game, and so I think it's a good line. If you could get it to like a touchdown, I think it would be really good. I mean, they beat the Ravens by a touchdown, right? It was a pretty close game, and
Yeah,
so that's just sort of my feeling towards that. Where like people are sort of like riding the Chiefs. They're like, yeah, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Like I'm sure if you go do like all the rankings of teams, like they do these like power rankings out there every week. I bet you like ESPN says the Chiefs are the number 1 team, and they probably slid the
yeah,
Bengals down like
for
10 spots.
sure.
They probably had the Bengals at like number 8 or something, and now they're number 18. Oh, they look
Yeah,
bad and they have problems and this and that. So I just think it's a good spot. And so I feel like everything in the NFL is kind of like spots based on like week to week movements and things. And so that's just something interesting that I took away from that game.
for sure. Okay, just to recap on the rest of the games on for week one. So that's Sam Darnold and the Vikings. These guys absolutely just ran over the Giants. They put up 28 points on them, and they held them to no touchdowns at all. So tough luck for the Giants. But yeah, not even a single touchdown, man. 2 field goals. So it's rough coming out there for week one and not scoring. I'm sure the Giants have a bunch to work on, but it made the Vikings look crazy. Whether they're good or not, I'm not too sure yet. But only time will tell, right? Huge,
I was
huge
gonna I
upset.
was gonna ask you that. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that game. Do you think that the Giants just stink, or do you think that the Vikings are actually a decent team? I think the Giants stink, by the way. Like I'm not saying
Yes,
they're a good
yes.
team. I
I
think
think I think it's
basically
a
no
good
matter what,
representation.
is it like both, or is it just the Giants stink and the Vikings are just like not that bad? Or like are the Vikings actually okay and the Giants really stink? Which one do you think it is?
I have to agree with you there. I think it's a bit of both. I think the Vikings, with a couple of changes this year, they're going to come out gunning, which they did in this first game, but also just the Giants just stink. So it's interesting spot too as that carries into next week because they got the Washington Commanders at basically a pick 'em against the Giants. So I don't know. We're going to scratch our heads there and see who we want to take, but yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I agree with you. I think the Giants are just kind of bad, and the Vikings they did a lot of improvements over this offseason. So yeah, the Bengals there, we talked about that, how that was a huge upset, and just a little insight on that. I joined the survivor pool for the football, and yeah, basically wiped out half the pool. So that was kind of good to see the Bengals lose there. If guys didn't get their picks in, it automatically selects the biggest favorite for that week. That's how it works for survivor pool. So if you forgot to pick, it basically just auto selected your Bengals and you lost. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, shrinks the pool to a smaller size, so it's looking good. I had all three of my picks on the Bears, and honestly, I was sweating that a bit because they were down. But we'll recap on that game in a second. The Cardinals and Bills, that was an eventful game. That was a high scoring game. Ultimately, Josh Allen and the Bills got it done. They secured that win. It was a very up and down game, but yeah, by the end, the Bills came on top. C.J. Stroud and Joe Mixon, that new running back, they really got it done for the Texans. Like you said, that was a close game as well, 29-7. Mixon went 3 for 3 for his targets, 1 touchdown, carrying the ball for 159 yards. He absolutely had a crazy debut for himself. Then get into the Bears game a little bit. The rookie QB Caleb Williams. I seen a crazy stat before that game started. It was all rookie QBs in their first week have lost every single game since like 2017. So it was interesting to see if Caleb Williams was kind of going to break that trend.
Mhm.
And he did. He did. Everyone thought that he was gonna follow suit because he was down 17-3, and then in the second half, I don't know. They went to the change room. They really talked about some stuff, and they put up 3 touchdowns and left the other two scoreless. So that was huge for them. Yeah, the Bears got it done there, 24-17. They covered that spread of -4. So yeah, that +4 looked really good for the other team. But in the end, Taylor Williams and the Bears got it done. Derek Carr and the Saints, they absolutely obliterated the Panthers, which was interesting because a lot of the sharp bettors that I read reports from out there to get insight on my picks, they were heavy on the Panthers +4 with all the offseason changes and new coordinators. They really like that Panthers +4, so it was really interesting spot to see the Saints absolutely run over them. I feel like they didn't anticipate the Saints to be that good, and they gave a little bit too much credit to the Panthers. So they really like that spot, but ultimately it didn't turn out as they hoped. Prescott and the Cowboys, that was a solid pick on the podcast. So if you're in the community, if you were following the community, I released that well ahead of time, and yeah, it came through. That was basically a no sweat pick too, +2. So we had some coverage just in case it came down to even like a 1 or 2 point game in the end. We would have still won, but luckily the Cowboys they led off the bat and they crushed the game 33-17. So that was a solid easy pick. We also smashed the 49ers on Monday Night Football. That closed at 185, minus 185. So that was a solid spot. I looked at it more of a parlay juicer rather than a single play because you're gonna get a little bit less money than you put in. There's a lot of anticipation around Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, right? So sorry, the Jets, and I kind of wanted to stay away with that community because I want to drop you guys the most confident picks. And even though I like the spot, the books didn't even know what to do, right? They basically had the 49ers at a -3. And if you look at it, they basically give 3 points to any of the home favorites just for that home field advantage, right? So if you take that into account, that's basically a pick 'em. And a pick 'em line means it's just one or the other. They don't even know what line to release, right? So they basically just said these teams are equal. We're just going to give the 3 points to the Niners because they're at home. And basically it went the Niners' way, and they really carried it out. And Aaron Rodgers, he just didn't get it done with the Jets. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Jets come together and how they move throughout the season. Right? It's only week one. Everyone's shaking off the jitters. Getting used to their new linesmen, new defense. Everything's coming together. So you're going to see some teams struggle while other teams really get up there. A little bit into the sorry, jcaps, you have any insight on
No,
the
please
week one
continue.
football before I transition?
Continue
Okay.
with what you're saying. I agree with a lot of it, and I want you just continue.
Okay, sounds good. Just a little bit into the NCAA picks. Like I was explaining to jcaps before, the it's heavy in the analytics there. It's really hard to follow all the teams, USC, LSU. There's a bunch of teams, a lot of movement, a lot of transfer portals going through. So I really like to take as much information, read as much reports as I can get with that, watch some games, and then give you guys the most educated picks. And anyways, it was really good. So if you follow those picks on this week, you made some profit, went 3 for 4. Missed an over by just a little bit, and that would have brought us at 100%. So you guys can always have full confidence in what I'm going to be bringing to the table with the NCAA picks. And just to get into the next week of football. So that's basically the recap on week one. It was good. We were up 6 units. We crushed the MLB, crushed the NCAA. We also crushed the NFL. So we went 2 for 3 there. Hopefully we're gonna have some more picks this week for you guys. I'm gonna be looking at some player props so we can get some maybe some rushing yards in there, some QB completions, some anytime touchdowns. We'll sprinkle a little bit of player props this week so you guys can really get into the NFL season. And then I'll just start over with the J caps right now before we get into the next week.
How did the Telegram perform? I mean, how many units did we win in NFL and NCAA? Like, how was the overall week?
It's a little dispersed. I have those on a separate sheet, so we can actually share those in the future. But I have how I'm doing in every sport kind of separate, and I actually agree with that. We should be able to relay that to the community, so I can show you guys how well we're doing in NCAA compared to the NFL, compared to the MLB. Right now, I kind of got it mixed in because it's easiest to supply the picks to you guys that way. I have it on a 3 pick sheet, right? But yeah, up 6 units altogether in all sports. But that's going to mean that we're up in all the sports, whether it's 1 or 2 units in the NFL, 1 or 2 units in the NCAA, and then another like 3 units in the MLB. But yes, moving forward, we will have that distinction between how we're doing in either of the sports.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so you want to give a
So
little
yeah,
bit of discussion about NFL Week 2? I'm looking at some lines right now. I actually have some interesting, maybe some
yeah.
interesting
So we're gonna
takes.
give you guys a little bit of insight on there. Let's pull it up now. You
Yeah,
said so. Yeah, we
I'm seeing on my side on a book that I have on Rollbit actually. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I'm just checking on Rollbit. I'm seeing Seattle Seahawks 2.5 points favorite at home um versus the New England Patriots. I really like that line. I mean, like I think the Seahawks are actually a good team. I don't think they're a bad team. They had a pretty good game this past week. I thought they looked good. I don't think the Broncos are as bad as people think they might be, if that makes sense. Like I actually think that Bo Nix might be somehow okay this year. Like I don't think he's going to stink it up. I just think that the Seahawks are actually a pretty good team. I think they have a good
I fully agree
defense.
with that.
They have a really good defensive backs, and so they had 2 interceptions against Bo Nix. They have a really good backfield, and so I think their defense is going to be good. I don't think Geno Smith is that bad of a quarterback. Like I think there's way worse quarterbacks in the NFL than Geno Smith, and so he's a good game manager. They always have good coaching. They always play hard, and like I just think they're going to smash the Patriots next week. Is what I think is going to happen. And
Yeah, I
so a
agree.
lot of people saw the Patriots win this game. They beat the Bengals on the road. All this stuff. I don't think that line is right. 3 point favorites. Seahawks versus
Yeah,
Patriots, I think that line is wrong. So 2.5, you can
I
get
fully
better than a
agree with
field
you.
goal. If you can get better than a field goal with the Seahawks at home against the Patriots, I think you should smash that line. I think it's a good line. I think they should be a touchdown favorite. And
Yeah,
so
I fully back that man. Touchdown favorite easy. And if you see, yeah, the Seahawks, they struggled a bit in the first week there. They did ultimately come out with a win, but they were trailing for the good half of the game, right? Like you said, the other quarterback, he did pretty okay, but the Seahawks came out on top. So I do agree, Patriots. There's going to be a lot of hype, and they're going to probably want to buy into that +3 just because they came over the Bengals. But I think it's more so the Bengals had a really bad game, and like you said, Burrow, he's been out, he's been injured, so he's really just got to take his form. But they had a bad game, and I feel like yeah, the Seahawks should be more favored here at around of a touchdown. Yeah,
Yeah, I
let's
agree.
see.
Well,
Let's see what are they doing.
I'm seeing 8.5. I'm seeing potentially 8.5. Oh no, you know 8.5 is and you don't get it's -200. 8.5 for Detroit versus Tampa Bay. 6.5 is the main line I'm seeing right now. I don't agree with those lines. I mean, I feel like Tampa is a better team than people are giving them credit for. I think that's going to be a close game. I think they're going to give them a legit
Yeah,
game, in my opinion.
I agree. That's a good spot to take the points.
I would take the points in that game. I think that it's a good spot as well. I'm just going
Yeah,
through
yeah.
a bunch of different
Ravens
things
and
here.
Raiders. Well, that'll be an interesting game here. I feel like the Raiders are terrible, man. The Ravens, Ravens really
What's your take on the Panthers? You think they suck? Or like what? Like do you think like
not too sure.
they got smashed by the Saints? I mean, like every single person
Yeah,
watches that game and they're just like, hey, the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL by far, and they're
yeah,
gonna lose every
I
game again
know.
this year, you know? Who doesn't
Yeah,
think
I
that
feel
after
like
watching that game?
yeah, like I said, there was a lot of really good bettors out there that really they were for the Panthers on that +4. So I feel like maybe we didn't see it in week 1, but these guys see something that maybe we don't. So you can see the Panthers come up as the weeks pass. I feel like they are a terrible team, but I feel like they're gonna bounce back a little bit. The Chargers on the points, I think the Chargers are gonna buy a touchdown. I think if you're gonna make any bets on the NFL, maybe stay away from the Panthers for now until we know a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, I'm seeing on my book Pittsburgh Steelers -1.5, paying 1.66, meaning $100 pays 166. I like that line a lot. Pittsburgh Steelers at home versus the Broncos. The Steelers, I think, have the best defense in the NFL, or at minimum, like probably like a top five, top six defense in the NFL. We literally just watched JJ Watt actually just game wreck the game. Like, I don't think the Falcons are that bad of a team, actually. I actually think they have a decent offense too. And I think by the time the year is done, they'll be at minimum a top 15 offense in the NFL with top 10 offense upside. But they absolutely got their whole game plan completely wrecked by JJ Watt because for whatever reason their coaching staff decided to put their tackle on an island with him, and he absolutely destroyed the game plan. And so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, there's a rookie quarterback on the road in Pittsburgh. That's a tough environment. He just threw 2 interceptions, okay, after the Seahawks, who, in my opinion, do not have as good of a defense as the Pittsburgh Steelers do. And you're getting one and a
Yeah,
half points. You're getting 1.5 points where $100 pays 1.66. So, you know, I mean, if you have $100 units and you bet 2 units on that game, you could win 1.32 units on that game. You know,
yeah,
taking -1.5. And so this Steelers team does not seem to me like a team that is going to run up the score. Same as last year. I don't really think anything changed. Like Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett seem like mostly like a Pickett, you know, like a pick 'em as to like who's going to do what. I think Justin Fields probably has higher upside. Their offense was kind of discombobulated. I watched that game and there was a lot of flags. Like there was a lot of weird stuff that happened that sort of like
yeah.
caused them to not score touchdowns. I think they're going to score some touchdowns at home next week. I think they're going
Yeah.
to figure some stuff out more. I think they're going to win that game by like
I
you know
fully agree. And honestly,
so
the
yeah.
book reflects exactly what you're saying there. They have the line at 36.5. They have it at a really low scoring game, you know. I feel like
Yeah.
your analysis on that game is pretty
Yeah,
bang
so
on, yeah.
I think that they might hold the Denver Broncos to like under 10 points. Like not because the Denver Broncos necessarily stuck. I think their defense is that good. I think TJ Watt, providing he plays, is that good. And so -1.5 in that game is good. I like the Seahawks, that line of the Seahawks -2.5. I just think there's value in both of those teams. I think they're better teams, or at least the defenses than the book is giving them credit for on that line. So those are 2 games that stick out to me immediately
Yeah.
after going through the
What do you think
lines.
about this Dolphins and Bills game? Really interesting. That's almost a pick 'em too. But
What
they're
line are
really
you
favored.
seeing?
Dolphins -2.5. It's
Yeah, I'm
minus
seeing the
110 on
same.
either side. So they're
Yeah, I'm
favored
seeing
there. You can
some
get them
books
for
at
minus
minus
one
one
ten.
and a half. I'm seeing 2.5 on
Yeah.
mine. I'm seeing 2.5.
So
You can get
what I was saying before, they give a few points for the home favorite just for having that home field advantage. So like if the Dolphins were at home, it'd be interesting. You'd actually see that line more so at like a -5.5, basically like a touchdown for the Dolphins,
hmm,
which is interesting. So I want to see how the Bills perform at home here. Should be a high scoring game. They have the
it's
line
in
at
Miami. The
49.
game's in Miami though.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's in Miami. So I think
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry.
yeah, it's in Miami. Miami usually
This
plays pretty
posting
well in
has it.
Miami. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
this
pretty
book
sure it's
has it
I'm
in
pretty sure the
Virginia.
game's in Miami. Is it
No,
not?
no, you're absolutely right. It is in
Yeah,
Miami. It will be in
there you
Miami. Yeah.
go.
Okay. So that
I'm not sure about that game, but I kind of like the Dolphins at home to maybe squeeze one out against these Bills team. I don't know. I mean, I watched that Bills game and Josh Allen literally carried the team on his back. Like he was just running and getting
yeah.
smashed up and like hurdling people to get score touchdowns. It was unbelievable. Like I think he could win the MVP this year, but I think
Yeah,
that
very
they're
very
lacking some
possible.
stuff on offense, especially with wide receivers getting open because the Cardinals defense is not very good. I think the Cardinals defense is
Yeah,
actually one of the weaker defenses in the NFL, and they were still kind of struggling to move the ball, so
exactly.
um, I think that they're going to have even more struggles. Like, Keon Coleman's going to go. He's like their number one receiver. He's a rookie, and he's about to go up against Jalen Ramsey. That's not going to be so much
Yeah.
fun for him. He's going to be on an island with Jalen Ramsey, and the Dolphins are going to say, go deal with him. And I think that he will, So I think that's going to be a tough game for them.
No, I agree. The
What do you think about the
Dolphins,
Jets
like the
minus 3.5 at home?
Jets minus 3.5 at home. Hmm. I feel
Hmm.
like after their little after getting smashed by the 49ers on Monday, I feel like the Jets are going to want to really secure a win here. So I feel like there's actually a lot of value in that minus 190. And I don't know, the Titans didn't look too good. So there's a lot of anticipation, like I said, around the Jets. And I feel like they can really actually cover that minus 3.5. You can actually buy some points and get some plus money on that if you want to get a little greedy. You can move that up to like a minus 5.5, minus 6.5, get the Jets to win by a touchdown. What do you think? Do you think the Titans cover that plus 3.5?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think that the Titans are scrappier team than people give them credit for. Even
Yeah,
if
I
they end
agree.
up only winning 5 or 6 games this year, I think that they could be a scrappier team and be a headache to play with, or play against. I think that they showed that against the Bears. I don't think that game was Caleb Williams, like sucking. Like I don't think he sucks. I think he's good. And
Yeah,
so I think that like maybe some early game jitters. I think they got a lot of pressure on him, and they actually have a really good secondary. They got L'Jarius Sneed from the Kansas City Chiefs, and so like I think that they have a pretty good secondary. And historically speaking, the Titans have kind of been a scrappier team. They run the ball, and so I think that it's going to be maybe a tougher game than the Jets might give it credit for. So I don't know. I think it'll be a close game. I'm not sure who I would take in that game. It doesn't like scream out to me as like this is the game I want to bet right now.
yeah,
But yeah, that's sort of my takeaway on that game. And the Jets also have a pretty solid defense. So I think that it's very possible it ends up being a low scoring kind of like battle it out type of game. And Aaron Rodgers, leads a drive at the end of the game and they win by field goal, something along those lines.
yeah,
And it's
something
closer
like
than
that.
it's like everybody's sort of like, uh, basically stressing out during the game if you're a Jets fan and worrying they're going to go 0-2, but they end up becoming 1-1. So I think the Jets will be 1-1. So maybe Jets money line would be a play in that game. I believe the Jets are going to win the game. You get 1.5, so $100. Basically $100 unit gets you half a unit if the Jets win money line in that game. I kind of like that. I mean, I think the Jets are going to win the game. I don't think they're going to
Yeah,
go 0-2. I believe they're going to go 1-1. They're going to become a 1-1
yeah,
team.
yeah. I
And
really like that.
so yeah, so Jets money line
Yeah.
is something I would consider betting in that game. What's your takeaway on this Ravens Raiders game? You think Ravens are going to run it up on them or what?
I really think I think the minus 9.5 is a solid spread. I can see him winning by a touchdown or field goal. After losing to KC, it was a tough game out for them. They are the defending Super Bowl champs. I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens really want to solidify their position in the NFL here, and I think this is the game to do it against a really weak Raiders team. So I actually do like the points on there. You want to stay away from the money line. It's looking at minus 450. Might even move up to minus 500. So that means 500 only pays you 100. You want to really probably hop on the spread. If you want to look at some halftime lines, I'll be looking at that later this week, and maybe we can drop a pick in there. But yeah, I really do like the Panthers to just crush the Raiders. This Washington and Giants game should be a shit show. But how's the Buccaneers defense? What's your take on the Buccaneers defense? They did give up 20 points to the Commanders. I could see the Commanders really smashing the Giants here. But yeah, they got that new
I don't
QB,
I don't think the Commanders are
Jaden
that bad.
Daniels.
I mean, he looked pretty
Yeah,
good. This new
he
QB,
looked
Jaden Daniels,
he
he
did
can run the
he looked
ball
pretty good.
very effectively. And I actually think the Buccaneers have a good defense. Like I actually think they have a legit defense. I think the Buccaneers are a good team. Like I think they have a really good shot of winning the
Yeah,
NFC South. And so like they're a legit team. I don't think they're trapped. Like they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs. They beat them up last year. They came out,
yeah,
they smashed the Commanders in their first game. Baker Mayfield, I actually think is a good quarterback. Like I don't know why people
yeah,
have this like weird thing of like giving him shit, but I actually think he's a
yeah.
good
No,
quarterback, and I thought he was a good
he was
quarterback
really
from the
solid out there,
beginning.
man.
He looks
Yeah,
solid to me. I mean, he has
he
really
looks
good wide
solid.
receivers. They have a good running game. They have a good offensive line. They have a good defense. They got good coaching. Like they're
Exactly.
a good
And
team. You know, they're gonna be a tough team to beat.
Commanders may not be the best, but they still put 37 up on them. Like that's a really solid outing. They scored every quarter, multiple touchdowns in
Yeah.
the fourth.
So
Not that
I
they
have two
really set a
takeaways.
run
I
for the
have two
game.
takeaways from that game. I think the Commanders are going to beat the Giants. I think that they're a better team. I
Yes,
think the Giants
I think
fucking
it's a great
stink.
spot. It's
And
a great spot, man.
I think that the Buccaneers are going to put up a really good game against the Lions. And by the way, I think the Lions are really good, and I also think the Rams are a good team. I don't think the Rams are a bad team. I think the Rams are a good team. I just think the Lions
Yeah,
are so
I agree.
good. And my biggest takeaway from that game is the Lions have an unbelievably good offensive line. I think they have the best offensive line in football. Before the season, I thought that they had a top five offensive line in football. I believe that they have the best offensive line in the NFL. And
Mm.
in the overtime, it literally showed that. Like they won that game because they won the trenches. Like all things being equal, Goff and Matthew Stafford were mostly a toss up. The wide receivers were mostly a toss up. The defense was
Yeah,
mostly a toss up. Okay. But the difference in that game was the depth that the Lions have at running back. They had a fresh David Montgomery coming off. So they have two really high quality running backs in Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery, and they flipped
yeah,
them back and forth throughout the game. So they basically had a fresh back in overtime. And not only did they have a fresh back, they had worn down the Rams defense. They don't have Aaron Donald anymore, the Rams defense. So they wore them down and they absolutely dominated them in overtime. They completely dominated them. The offensive line won them that game, in my opinion. I think that's going to be a theme throughout the season. Like, I think they are going to absolutely ground and pound people way more than people give them credit for, you know? And if they can run
yeah.
the ball effectively, that makes them an extremely dangerous team because that opens up the play action for Jared Goff. And he has really good receivers. He has Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has Jameson Williamson. So he has all these fast receivers that are going to be moving down the field, spreading the defense. But you combine that with a really good offensive line. I really think the Lions are a serious team. Like I think they could win the Super Bowl.
And
And
then that being
so
said, it's going to be a crazy matchup in this week too with the Buccaneers and Lions.
it's gonna be a
Like you
great
said,
game. I agree.
I like the +7 on there, but we're going to do a little bit more digging and we're gonna give you guys some good picks.
Yeah,
To do that.
I'm seeing you can get plus 8.5 on the Buccaneers
Yeah, which is
for 1.7. So a $100 unit wins you zero point 0.7 units at 8.5 points. I don't know. I mean, eight and a
uh,
half points is a pretty big spread. You know, like you
it
really
is
think
the
that
cover.
the Lions are going to smash them by more than a touch, by basically like a touchdown and a field goal at that point. I don't know about
They only
that. I
beat the
mean,
Rams by 6 in OT, right? Like I don't know. I feel like the
at
Buccaneers
home,
can really
yeah.
cover that right now.
What are your thoughts on the Browns? I mean, that was a complete shit show first game of the season for them. That looked really bad. I mean, that was bad. You know, like the
Yeah,
Jaguars did not look that bad. I mean, they put up a pretty good game against the Dolphins, and they were kind of like
they
winning until the
did.
very end. Took a miracle for the Dolphins to win that game. I don't think that the Jaguars are a bad team. And so,
No,
you know, what that's an interesting game. You
no,
kind of have like the Jaguars. Maybe people are not really talking about them. They had a tough game against, against the Dolphins, where like
not,
they arguably could have won that game. And then you have the
they could have
Browns, who
for
like
sure.
they look terrible. You know, I mean, like I don't believe
Yeah,
their defense is bad, but it's like when you have Deshaun Watson being completely inept, and every time they go on, it's like three and out, three and out. They can't move the ball down the field. The defense is going to get
yeah.
scored on. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it is what it is.
They can only
Um,
contain so much, and if they can't put up those points, they're not gonna see anything happen, right?
so what do you think is going to happen in that game?
It's hard to say, man. Um,
I
I
think it's
really
gonna be a
like
low
the Jaguars.
scoring game.
I think it's gonna be low scoring. They have the line at 41.5. They also think it's not gonna be too high.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, I really like the spread there. You can't really count Cleveland out, but like you said, Jaguars for the most part could have actually beat Miami there. They had the lead going into the second half. They had it in the third quarter. They just they plummeted in the third, fourth quarter, and ultimately lost to Miami. But I really think the Jags can get it done here at home. Browns didn't look too good, and like you said, a lot of struggling there. So I think it's a solid set line. You can actually get some value in Jaguars. Jaguars are home money line -170. You can add it with another pick and really smash it. I think it should be okay.
I agree. Okay, you know what? Let's wrap it up there. That we had a pretty good session here. You know, the good podcast discussing a lot of different ideas about games this coming week. Our official picks that we're going to launch into the Telegram channel will be made throughout the week. And so, if you're interested and you want to have the opportunity to win with us this weekend on NFL Week 2, then you can join our Telegram for free. Let's say you want to win this weekend. Join on Wednesday. You'll get our picks for the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You'll be able to try it for free. And if you win this weekend with us, then fantastic. You know, you're going to be able to basically pay off almost the rest of the season, depending on your unit size. And so we've made
Exactly.
the Telegram channel extremely affordable. And so even if your unit size isn't very large, it would still be profitable for you to join our Telegram channel. And additionally, like we can't really
Absolutely.
be giving away everything we do for free always, right? Or even for low amounts of money. There has to be some incentive for us too. And so we really think that we have a lot of value to provide people and that you can get a lot out of joining our group. And so if you found this podcast interesting, subscribe, like the podcast, leave a comment if you have anything to say about it. And then you can obviously go to the description or you can click on the channel and go find a link to the WAP channel over there and you can join. And so we'll leave it at that. If you have anything else to say, Binks, now's the time, or else we'll basically wrap it
No,
up.
that's great. That's a good closing up. You can see the NFL picks this Thursday. I'll probably have the picks out just for the weekend, so you guys get a hop on it. Like you said, join Wednesday. It's free. Get in there, guys. We all want to eat together. That's a good note to close it off, man.
All right, fantastic. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.